You'll thank me later.
Fair enough.
You guys, I have so much fun in this group, by the way.
It's a good group.
Oh, man. Like, I can finally be myself, I feel like.
I feel like you can be yourself too.
Thanks, Mom.
All right, so Parley's here. He just can't see or hear us.
So
That doesn't work. Where are we gonna go?
As long as you can screen share and give us the right answers, then that's all that matters.
He's I think he's leaving. I'm gonna try to come back. Yep.
we were talking about hurrying this one along, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So does somebody want to start us off with a prayer?
I'll do it.
Okay.
Dear Heavenly Father, we're thankful for this evening that we have to come and join together as a group. We're thankful for the technology that allows this to be possible. We ask that it'll work out tonight, that Parley will be able to get in as well. We ask that we can have a good discussion, that we can benefit from each other's comments, and that we can see each other's viewpoints, and that we can have open minds. We love you very much, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Tony the Tiger, take us home. Let's host this. Let's do this.
Whoa, I'm still opening it up. Sorry, guys.
Calm down and just do it.
Hey, Parley, you there?
The abuse I take in this. Parley, good to have you. I pray to you here, man. I don't know if you heard that.
I'm able to hear you now.
You know, I would read number 2 here, ask for a spiritual thought, but I think we just seriously had a spiritual manifestation. Parley's locked out, and then a quick little prayer, and he's in.
Miracles are real.
Hey, testimony meeting's coming up in my ward. I'm totally gonna talk about it. Okay, so let's jump right in. Choose a student.
He's on something tonight, boys. He's on something tonight.
So far in this course, we have seen a few common threads and takeaways. Founders matter. Experience, passion, and vision shape the business and can make the difference between success and failure. Business plan at the founding stage of the company is a collection of hypotheses. In other words, startups create value by systematically testing hypotheses and making changes to the plan when the test results indicate a need to change. Early tests tell us a lot about the viability of a business and where more information is needed. Previous cases analyzed business models and the founders had already chosen. Now we get to see a company at the moment of choice. Vote. Which business model option do you favor? Traditional strategy, razor and razor blades, data and analytics. So probably a lot of this is going to come out of the brilliant financial analyses we've all performed. So let's just take this to a vote.
That way Connor will know who to shame later.
That's right.
I say razor blades.
Razor blades. I was there as well.
Really? I was data analytics.
Yeah, I was
go for it, Alex.
Whoa, Alex, what was that? Are you bandwagoning, Alex?
No, I said it first.
He did.
This is why we should do the 1, 2, 3. Everybody say it at the same time.
2.
You guys all laughed at me. Y'all thought I was stupid. Are we all 2s right now?
I'm 3.
Connor, what's your vote?
Dude, I was all day with that data. I can't remember what the
Number
one was called. The data,
data.
Data analytics.
The analytics, yeah.
Parley, what were you, Parley?
Razor blades. I mean, obviously, I prefer a combination, but razor blades is where I'm at.
Oh, we're gonna get to this. We're gonna get to this.
What would you combine though, Parley?
Data.
That's what I'm talking about because that's where it's at.
See, I would.
Where it's at.
I would go into. Alex, was that you? Sorry.
Yeah. So I went back and reread it, and basically, from what I gathered, I mean, razor blades and data analytics are kind of
similar.
That's why I ended up going data analytics.
That's my boy. That's
Oh,
why
whoa, so
he
you
is
switched?
the best in this class. That's why he is the best in this
I'm
class.
pretty sure last week you had a huge issue with him not being a number 2. But okay.
Listen, let's just forget our differences. This is square one. We'll move forward.
Okay, so number 5, give each person who voted a chance to share why he or she has voted the way they did. If a choice is left without someone voting for it, discuss as a group the pros and cons of that choice as well. Specifically for each alternative, discuss the following: number of potential customers, which customers would be expected to pay for the product, who the competitors are, and their likely response, the founder's goals, the investor's goals. Okay, so I'm going to jump right in. I was number 2. But I would change the financial decisions of number 2, or the financial basis of it. So they were saying that they were going to sell. Sorry, I'm opening up a spreadsheet that kind of has a chart. Okay, they were going to sell at $5,000 to $7,000, and then they were going to charge $200 for the cartridges, which was kind of what they hoped would be their big moneymaker. They said, okay, we pay $100. That's going to be a $50, or sorry, they were saying it was going to come out to be a 50% profit margin on the cartridges. I think they could get away with selling the Genius at probably twice that, more towards the 15,000 range. And I say that because the next cheapest sequencer out there is Illumina's, and that's a $40,000 machine. And so if they launched at $30,000, or then that'd be different. Illumina could bring their price down, beat out the entrant, and then even raise their price back up afterwards. But I think if Genius was selling at $15,000 for a machine, they would still collect a big group of non-consumers, people who have had this barrier to entry based on cost, who haven't been able to get into the sequencing game. I think they'd still be able to get them, and they'd have healthier profits and a quicker cash flow.
So who's next?
I'll go next. So I was picking data analytics, and I think the reason I did that was for one, number of potential customers. So I think the price point would allow for a lot more people to get in. And if they do create that database, those people who didn't maybe want to invest in the machines could still invest in the information. So they'd have 2 types of customer client base instead of just the one. And also, they do have those other companies they were talking about in the case study that were trying to come out with a product that's a similar price point. That one that was $900 that was disposable, and there's some other ones at that same price point. So I think if they raise their price too much, they might lose that little niche that they're in, and it could really set them back quite a bit. That's really their only competitors, those 2 small companies. And realistically, the founder's goal is to help people. And I think the data analytic way is a way they can make good money. And over at the 10-year plan on the spreadsheet, it has the greatest way to make the most money over 10 years, like twofold based of the Razor way of doing it. So I think not only will they be able to get the information and help more people by allowing more people to get the information or the product, they'll also make more money. So,
Okay, I'm jumping in right after Justin just because that is exactly his whole thing is helping others, right? And so that right there, just that data alone that he's going to be bringing in from, that's the reason why I chose data analytics. That is honestly, Justin hit it on the head. If he is out to help others, listen, they even said they were going to be the Google of genomes, right? They can become that type of resource. Not only are they benefiting from their sensors alone, but they're also now benefiting from all that data that they're taking in, right? Think of what Google is now and try to put that just in it's a small little niche, right? But even just that alone, by golly, Miss Molly. And you know what? This is so important, so beautiful that I want to send it right over to my boy Alex because he is the smartest one today. And I want to send it over to him. Alex,
Well,
don't let me down.
I'll take it from there. So, no, that was, I mean, just all the same reasons you guys said. That's where they have, I went one step further. I thought that in my what if section of the case study, I said that they should basically give away the machine itself and make some sort of a contractual agreement where they have to buy their cartridges and they have to allow them to service them. And I mean, just based on those two alone, I mean, and then the data sharing, I mean, it allows them to have revenue while they're building up their database. And then going from that point forward, they'll be able to make money off of the data side. That's why I chose the data analytics. I thought there was a lot more upside than the razor blade. I felt if razor blade, you're going to be able to have increased competition in the market eventually. You know, customer or your competition's going to want to, be better than you are. And I mean, if they drop the price and they've already got their other products in with the companies, just like they said on the first one that nobody went with them because they're able to price out all the other customers. So I think that's why I went data analytics instead of razor blade.
Parley, what did you choose? What are your thoughts?
All right, so I'm just going to kind of talk about the other ones real quick, and then I'll come back to the razor blades and why I think that's a good deal. I think honestly, the numbers, they look really good for the standard traditional deal as far as founder value and also investor return on money. You're looking at basically 3 years, and they're into that. They've got positive cash flow or free cash flow. The problem I see with that, though, is the fact that the instant they start, that's based on a premise that they're going to be able to maintain and take basically a market share that they haven't. They're going to break into a current market that's already established and somehow take a whole bunch of market share and continue to take market share every year without the other companies actually retaliating in price wars. And I think what had happened is you'd end up with a price war that would just, basically erode all the benefits of that particular market. Going to the data, I mean, the data is the golden goose. That's where all the money is. However, you go that direction and you got to come up with almost $60 million, depending on how you play with the numbers. $60 million in the first 6 years to be able to make it viable as far as funding before it actually starts turning that profit. And I messed with the numbers a little bit, and I changed it so that instead of, the fact is if you're doing a genetic test, are you willing to pay $100 or just $75 for the test? Hey, we're giving away everything free. That's cool. But the fact is just raise it up to $100. I don't know of anybody that would be complaining about that, and that's pretty much free. And now at that point, it changes it a little bit where it's not quite as negative, and you only need about $52 million in total financing. The problem is that's a lot of financing, and there's a lot of risk associated with that in making sure that over that 6 years, you end up with enough financing and everything starts working like it's supposed to. For me, the razor blade idea, I looked at the cost of the machines and the tests. Basically, they're able to have a fairly good market because they're reaching customers that aren't currently being served, and so there's a lot less risk there in being able to reach out to new customers. The cost of the individual test, that was one of my big questions. Like, what are people willing to pay for the test? Because $900 for the one company, they were looking at $750 in our traditional deal, but there was no indication of what like the individual users, in the back of the document, it had all the what they were willing to pay for the machines, but nothing about what they were willing to pay for the test. So the big plus on the razor blade deal is that if they keep the price low, they're opening up new markets for the machine. The test, I don't know of anybody that would have any problems with the $200 test for genetics. That's pretty cheap, and even maybe $275. But the point is they're going to build a huge customer base there that they can transition into the data model as they prove their model, and that things are going to work out the way that they anticipate they do. it's a little bit more of that lean startup versus the other. I mean, $60 million or whatever it is that we start off with, and we're hoping that it all plays out, 6 to 8 years or 10 years down the road. So it's that's kind of the big jump for the golden goose, as they talk about. If they go the other direction, they may not be right on that cutting edge of getting the number of data that they need right off the bat. But the fact is all those other people would change their model of data to actually compete with them. So it's not like they're going to lose that first mover if they're already building up a huge number of customers data from when they actually transition to it.
Are you guys there?
Yeah.
I say it got weird.
Okay. I think
I
we
like what
lost
Parley was
Harley.
saying.
So they probably.
I like what Parley was saying about because he kind of brought up that disruption theory I'm always stuck on because I'm basically in love with the theory.
Right.
But starting out in a place where your success isn't going to bother the incumbent firms, because otherwise you're seriously going to damage, or you're going to get pummeled by the established firms. So that rules out number one for sure. You guys are arguing number three, and I just see a lot of ifs with number three. And it's high risk, high return, and we kind of knew that from the beginning. But I just think there's so many unknowns, and there's so much capital that's going to need to go into it. And they're, like Parley said, they're down at negative 60 million there. They're going to need $60 million to get things going, and they don't really even know if it's going to work. And a lot of this is based on their ability to create a database, and they don't know if they can do that. And so they're hoping that, hey, maybe we can partner with somebody and do that, but they don't know if they're going to be able to partner with somebody. So I just see a lot of risk in it.
Yeah, but I was running through some of the numbers, and if they could bump the price up from 3,000 to 4,000 and test from 75 to 150, the amount they'd have to invest would drop almost half. So, and it's still a really good price that they'd still get while not having to put in 60 million in capital, only about 30 million. So, I mean, I think if they, instead of saying, hey, we're going to give it away, they got to be like, hey, we've got to bring some money back in towards us. But I think they also work with either Google or Amazon to create this database. I think there's value in that database that they can find someone to help them establish it pretty quick. But I don't know, you're right, there's a lot of ifs. So for the razor blade one, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, though, the thing to consider, though, is as you start raising prices, the growth rates, which are really important to that model being successful, may go down. I mean, I honestly don't think that a $3,000 to $4,000 change in the price of the machine is going to change how fast you grow. I mean, if I can afford a $3,000 one, I can probably afford a $4,000 one. But you start up in the price that you're talking about. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many thousands of tests they're calculating for that. I mean, you're talking 80% growth for the first 5 years, and then 50% sustained after that. That's going to be in a lot of tests, and $75 up to 150 is going to start having that. The elasticity is going to start playing a factor. It's just something to think about.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
Okay, so
I agree that there's that if you're going to spend 3,000, you're going to spend 4,000, but the next highest or the next cheapest viable option, and it was like $160,000.
Right.
I mean, these guys could literally price themselves double what they're at. I mean, yeah, it would prevent their growth
I think a big part of them being able to grow was getting into that market that the other ones weren't tapping into, which were the smaller, the cheaper, the people who couldn't afford as much. They were wanting to get into these smaller organizations, smaller hospitals, smaller companies that couldn't afford $160,000, but they could probably afford $3,000 or $4,000.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, so because to me, it sounds like there's a huge untapped market because it's a tool of the rich. And, if you're can't afford that, they're not going to go, yeah, we'll find 160 grand for you. But like, hey, we'll find $4,000 and then maybe another $30,000 a year for tests and upkeep. I mean, I don't know. It's a lot of ifs.
This whole, and I don't know if about you guys, but I kind of felt like this whole case was just full of ifs.
Yep.
Oh man, it was just packed full of it.
Well,
It was
even
like
with this
there's no concrete direction that they were headed in. It was like,
Sorry,
what did you say, Justin?
I said even the spreadsheet, the professor was like, hey, just mess with the numbers and see what you find. I mean, it's just a bunch of guessing and saying, oh, let's tweak this and tweak that. I mean, there's so many variables that there's no way to really know.
I felt like this was a good representation of exactly what it would be like to be in their shoes. Like that was a good way. Like the conversation that we're having right now is probably a conversation that they had amongst themselves of, well, what is the best one? And here are the pros and cons, here are the risks. Put it in perspective, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, because if you go to data strategy, even if you can get people to pay some so you make a profit, and you're still looking at $30 million you have to come up with.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. Oh, man.
But
Okay.
if you look at when you run the graph, you can make $200 million when with the Razor one, you can only make $15 million. So the risk is there, but the payout could be a lot more.
You bet.
I bet.
Okay, sorry, Tony.
I think, though, it's important to note, though, that you could go from the razor blade really easily into the data as you've, and that's why, I mean, I see what you're talking about as far as the overall potential, but at the same time,
Well, to me, I don't understand why you couldn't just run the razor blade and the data together. Like, I was wondering why wouldn't they just run the razor blade and say, hey, by the way, we're going to keep all the data and use it as a platform for other people to use. I was wondering that the whole time.
I think they probably would have. I think it's kind of like Rent the Runway, where we thought that they should have, done a little bit extra, make those steps forward, as well as branch off into other markets. And that's exactly what they did. I'm sure this company did something similar. They just want us to make that first step for them.
Yeah.
Okay, so this next part is interesting. Do y'all have your models open?
Yeah.
I find the lack of response is disturbing.
I have my model open.
Hey, there we go. Okay, so we get to do the 1, 2, 3 game. So excited, guys. So basically, they want us to have a polling tool that lets us vote and then see the overall results. So we're going to do that in the most simple way possible. We're going to count to 3 and everybody at the same time say their answers. We have to hold each other accountable to whatever we said.
Are we going just back to the free cash flow definition part? Is that what this is?
Yes. I think that's where you want to be. So if we increase EBOT sales and hold everything else equal, time to pay back ... Now we have increases, decreases, or remains the same. So you get 30 seconds to come up with an answer.
Time to pay back.
Where are you at?
FCF definition in the model. It's not the first tab, but it's the tab labeled 1. FCF definition.
Okay. Just number 1, you're saying?
30 seconds almost up, man. Yeah. A, if we increase EBOT sales and hold everything else equal, time to pay back increases, decreases, or remains the same. Are we ready? Doing it?
Yeah, I think I'm ready. I think I know what we're talking about.
Okay, here we go. On the count of 3, everybody say what you think. The time it takes to pay back. 1, 2, 3. Decreases.
Decreases.
Who said increases?
It was in decreases.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
Okay, time for our summaries. Okay, go for it.
Oh,
I don't think so.
All right. Whoa, there's so much left. Okay, fortunately, like now we just have to discuss answers. So basically, just change that 5% to something drastic so it's easy to see what happens. And booyah, you're paid off way faster. Does anybody disagree? Mr. In decrease?
Your time to pay back would decrease, then, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, no, okay, I see.
So are you just going through the questions on the free
That
cash
Excel
flow?
spreadsheet.
No. The questions on
This
the
is
on iLearn in the Genap.
Oh, that's where we're at.
Yeah,
This is
man.
not
Back
the
in there.
instructions.
Well, because that's the next question on the.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
They might be the same questions then.
Yeah, Yeah, okay, keep going. Sorry, I know we're crunched for time.
You know what? Same time. No, yeah, that's right. Wait, guys, do this with me. Stick 5% into that BBI sales box, and then go to like
Decrease.
25%.
Yep.
Oh no, that's right.
I don't think.
Same thing with NOA. If it increases or decreases cash flow. So if this then cash flow that, you get 15.
Cash flow cumulatively decrease.
This one.
Okay, everybody ready?
yeah. This
Okay.
yeah.
On the count of
Which one
three,
are
I'll
we
do
changing this
30.
time?
Decrease.
Whoa! NOA over sales. Like, who's saying decreases? We didn't count to 3, yo. We're gonna get docked.
I thought you said 3.
Oh, well, I did.
You
and I
did
had to
say
recall
you
it.
did say 3.
What's this
You
button?
said 1, 2, 3, and I said decreases, and nobody else said anything.
Whoa.
Whoa, I said something. I
Yo,
was
the
just on
TA is
mute.
gonna know that I said decrease.
Sorry, I didn't hear anything else.
We've got this all
What did you
recorded.
decrease? Decreases. I think we can all agree on that. Any objections?
Decreases
No.
for sure.
Guys, this is probably the lowest quality group discussion we've had so far. Actually, no, I know this is the lowest quality group discussion we had so far.
Decreases.
I can't even see the picture.
I can't either. Mine wasn't popping up
Yeah,
either.
And there was on the questions for this lesson, everyone else is saying, or a couple people saying the same thing. So,
Okay. Oh.
so I'm going with BC. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
BC.
I think it decreased from there to C to E.
There's definitely
Oh, yeah,
ways
sounds good.
A to B. Definitely.
Connor, I know you would argue.
Can you
that
guys
point.
actually
I
see
know
the
you would
image?
argue that point strong.
No, can you?
No.
Okay, once everyone has responded to the question without help from anybody else, compare answers, discuss as a group, what strategies have we seen that flatten or lengthen the cash flow curve? Good question.
So this is
Flatten
from
the curve. Increasing EVOT sales flattens the curve, doesn't it?
Yeah. This was
Where are
also
we
from
going?
that Excel spreadsheet too, wasn't it?
Like sales, actually. Sales flattens.
Doesn't the EVI actually make the curve go back up?
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, let's see.
They both kind of do.
Oh, yeah, increasing sales, it looks like flattens it for sure.
Sales growth definitely flattens.
Okay. Next, describe to each other what would happen to Dr. Johns if they had decided to build an independent company rather than get acquired. Oh, flip sticks.
I had to go back and look what that up because I couldn't even freaking remember.
Oof. I wasn't here for that week.
It was toothbrushes. Toothbrushes.
This
Okay,
is
so I think this is just kind of this is just kind of a little bit of a recap.
Which ain't nobody got time for that.
Who said that?
I think if they'd have built an independent company, they would have got crushed.
Oh no, you're right. Yeah. Because they were coming in at $6, and so we said, well, they may not bother Oral-B, who's selling for 50, but then we actually kind of figured out, well, like a majority of Oral-B's company is actually their manual toothbrushes, and they would be stealing customers from there, and so Oral-B would come and destroy them.
Well, and the other company that they actually partnered with was working on their own design, so they would have pushed it up faster and crushed the little guy.
Oh, totally. Okay. Discuss the same for Rent the Runway. If the founders of Rent the Runway had been able to convince the dress designers to retain ownership of the dresses, what impact would that have had on RTR's cash flow curve? Flatten or steepen, shallow or deepen, increase or decrease time to pay back? Wow.
I think it would have flattened their cash flow. I think they would have made money.
Yeah, but it would have decreased the time to pay back.
Yep, because they wouldn't have had such a big investment.
Okay, that would have looked kind of like the traditional method then, or the traditional business plan that was one of the options. I think it would have had a similar looking graph. What decision did Drew Houston make in Dropbox that favorably impacted the cash flow curve?
He stopped paying for advertising.
Yep.
That was big. He did the freemium model.
He listened to the customers.
Got a runny nose. Sorry, guys. Getting sick. That's the nice thing about group meetings far away, though, is you can't get each other sick. Gross. I think I felt that through my speakers. Now let's look at choices GenapSys has from a cash flow standpoint. For each business model option under consideration, compare the following. Net present value. If some of the options have similar net present values, which is riskier, is it advisable to take additional risk for a similar NPV? So I'm flipping over tabs. So from what I see, well, actually, I have to change this back to what I had it at. Let's try. Here we go. That was bad. So in my model, net present value, if you increase the excuse me, if you increase the revenue per machine sold for the razor and razor blade strategy to 15,000, like I was talking about, net present value increases significantly to become the highest at 60,000 over the data analytics strategy, which is at 50,000. I'm sure you could definitely tweak numbers on either side there to get them to level out, but
yeah, because if you bump the data to 4,000 and 150, it takes up to 115,000.
Whoa. Okay, you win.
That's only a little bit of an increase.
Yeah, I have the razor blades at 10,000 and 275 for the test strips or test cartridges, and that's got a net present of 70,000 or 70 million, whatever.
Jeez. Right.
70,000. Data still wins.
Does anybody have any idea? Or read anywhere where they said how many tests they could run on each strip?
It's one test per cartridge.
Yeah.
Test per cartridge. See, I thought they had.
Wasn't there a different cartridge they were talking
sizes?
about?
Yeah, there were different sizes of cartridges. I think you could run multiple tests.
The different sizes of cartridges was how many genes they could do.
Oh,
Like they were going to start with like 10, then it was like what 50 and 100.
Yep, I think.
I think it was how many.
Sorry, guys, I'm moving us on.
Still one test, one cartridge, different bases.
For each option, how much of the company will the founders have to give up to reach the goal? Now, that's an interesting question because under the razor blade strategy, the founders keep most of the company, at least relative to the data analytics strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with the numbers I ran, they have to give up. They have to, give up a lot. So if they're that $20 million investor, they'd have to come up with $10 million on their own. So they'd lose 67% of their company.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
But with the data side of things, they'd lose a lot more.
They would.
And the at least from their point of view, the actual increase in revenue doesn't necessarily help them a whole lot.
Right.
They don't be able to pull a third of it.
Okay. You must decide as a group which business model you will choose.
I think we just decided that one.
I think if anybody doesn't pick data analytics, Connor's just going to beat him.
Yeah, we'll never get Connor
I
over,
will
so
find
maybe we
you.
should just go where he's at. Guys, I want to keep ownership in my company, and I don't want to put a huge risk in.
I just
I like
really
risk,
think
okay, but I want
trying
to
to
feed my
do.
family.
Listen, I'm telling you, there's no risk with data analytics. I'm telling you.
30 million
Oh.
chump change.
That's a lie in itself. Anyways, continue us on, Tony the Tiger.
Well, what are we deciding on, guys? What's the strategy?
We already know it's data analytics, so let's just move along. There's nothing to see here.
Do I have anybody willing to budge towards 2?
Anybody budge and they will be found. I'll just say.
Obviously, the whole unanimous vote is not a concept that's a strong feature here.
Not here. This is what we call communism, run by Mr. McCook himself.
Is that what you learned over in Paris?
Yes, socialists. Gosh dang it.
But that was a bit of a culture shock, Paris
That was
time.
terrible. That's all I gotta say. I knew exactly where the U.S. embassy was at all times.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna go to 3 just for all of you. But I want you to know that I'm not happy about giving up a big portion of my company and having to raise a whole ton of money, losing.
Well,
You can always raise more money.
would you rather give up more of $1 billion company or less?
Dude, if I
of
can
a
just make a quick few million and then just sell the company and be done with it and move to Fiji,
You're
I'm
good.
happy.
That's a 3. You're a 3. You're a 3. That's all you gotta do.
Whatever, I'm gonna have to be around for 6 years as a 3 before I start making any money.
Oh.
I can always pay my own salary, I guess. I'll work that into the numbers.
Exactly.
Okay, guys.
Got it?
I'm not putting 3 on the post discussion, but I'll tell you, Connor, that I'm a 3. Okay, guys.
Alrighty,
So-
let me.
Let's do a summary then. I'll summarize. So, as a group, we decided that we were going to go with the third option of data strategy. We realized that there are many faults with this idea. For example, losing a large portion of our company. However, we figured that in the long run it was going to be worth it because cash flows were going to increase after 5 years or so. We also manipulated our assumptions a little bit to decrease the amount of our company that we would have to lose and shorten the time in which it would take to break even. So as a company, as a group who is now apparently running a fantasy company, that is what we are going to do.
Like it.
Was that the drums at the end?
I was waiting for applause. My wife was dropping pots in the sink in admiration. She was for it.
Hey.
Oh, wow. Alex has already gotten that thing out. Way to go, Alex.
Well, yeah, it's just not gonna load. It's not gonna be loaded right now.
So do we all need the same summary, or is one summary good enough?
I think.
I think one summary is good enough.
Anybody have anything they want to add?
Connor,
The question I have is that link the link to the live deal or the recording?
That's to the
Is there a
recording.
difference? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, because it's the dot watch, so hopefully that's the right.
All I gotta say is Connor McCook approves this message. It's all good.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's
All right, guys.
let's cut to live.